This is Mark with Not Square Design, and I want to talk to the Bill She's real quick before I get into a bunch of stuff for Dimitri. Um, what I've got going on here is the the ceiling here is in place for that walk-through breezeway, and so it's at the same height as the ceiling for the garage because what I'm doing is I'm extending that truss system out. So the truss system just rolls all the way through, and we could probably even change this guy. No need for it to be an end truss or a drop truss. And so I just take it, say it's not an end truss, it's not a reduced gable, force it to rebuild, and say okay. And so now it's fixed. Looks like it's missing a tail, but we'll worry about that as we go along. So, and probably more worry about it with the truss manufacturer, but I think I could just simply do a quick little pull at one end, maybe a pull at the other, and probably have it fixed. But that didn't do it. So Control Z, pull that one back, and looks like that one stayed back. So, at any rate, what I'm really here for is to kind of get some stuff off to Dimitri after I discuss this with you. So now that you see why this ceiling is where it's at, you can see it's kind of low here. And so you have full height in here, which, probably full height meaning over 7 feet, but not a full 8 foot ceiling. This is the backyard, so it's not a huge deal. I'd like to close this in once I get an okay on all the rest of this. So what it's doing though is it's cutting off this window, and so I will shoot this off to Cass and let him take a look, and maybe he'll have some truss answers and say, if we just scissor it or something of that nature, that might do it. And then I didn't put anything on the back side of this wall. I did add a curb footing, and then we have the pavement going through here, as you have. I was thinking that for Nick's sake, that maybe these would be round. That way he can auger them. Soils are going to be pretty easy to dig in there. And then I'll get into talking to Dimitri about some of this other stuff. But this beam here, Cass, that beam is located right here so that these trusses can set on it. Now, you can see they get down to where I could raise it up a little bit if you want to jog this, or even raise the wall. We could make this wall taller, or put a ledger in here to set those trusses on. Right now they're showing poking through, and why it framed the wall the way it did, I'm unclear. You can see that this member right there is of the same wood type as the trusses. So I'm not worried about how Chief decided to frame it at this point. I just need to get this done. And so we could raise these trusses up a little bit, but they can't really go any higher than where it would just be flush to the bottom cord right here at this beam's location. So tell me what we can do there, and then if you can get me an adjustment on that, the truss layout, so I can get that to Dimitri. Now, Dimitri, what we're looking at here is I've got to be able to hold this post up, and so I kind of left it unfinished so that you could kind of see what's going on, and then decide your best way that you would like to frame it. So these guys here, these 2x, are going across to hold up the ceiling, and the TNG would just be turned the opposite direction, and then we'd have to put a ledger on that wall over there. But this is actually something in the model is cutting this off. You can see there actually is a member there, and you can see it in the framing plan view, and that's all I'm interested in, is to get it into AutoCAD. So the fact that that's ghosting out is of no consequence to me. The one area that Cass may be interested in is that we've got so much head clearance down here that if I gave him this whole cavity in here, so he made these trusses come down, and so that they would set on, and they're setting inside here. Now, Chief's not building them flat at the bottom, but don't worry about that. Let's just do it the real way. I can get you exact heights on any of this, and we can basically raise it up to the top of this beam and make this flat across here with the truss. If you'd like to turn that truss straight down, and it actually will become the wall, and then it would become the truss up here, and either in two pieces or in one. However, we can make sure that it works, is completely stabilized, and whatever I need to do down here for you to help support it. These guys, I haven't transferred their layer yet, so but as far as they're concerned, all these do is they hold insulation in place. So for all intents and purposes, you can pretend they're not there. And we may be talking to them about getting rid of them altogether if they want to take advantage of an arm that's available, and then we'll just drop them. So here's the rim as it sits right now, and then so I can imagine that these trusses up here come across, and then they build down to become my interior wall. And this is just a bonus storage that ended up forming in here, and I'll take you inside if it doesn't make sense. But you can see there's floor trusses there, so we'd come up the stair, and then when you turn right, they get some bonus storage. So back here, where I'm trying to support this with a beam that's kind of hard to get it to really set or hang on anything, you can see that here it's not pulled all the way across. But imagine, if I've got it here and I pull it across to where it belongs, then that's framing out, and we put a hanger or something on there, and it becomes just kind of a little bit difficult to deal with. Where if we make this just 2 feet shorter in the storage area, and then the truss actually goes straight down and is then out over this floor system, or the ceiling system, sorry. So this whole thing in here becomes a truss, a webbed truss. And once you tell me that that's feasible, or 1 or 2 pieces, however we want to do it, and I can get you sections through here, whatever you need, to determine all these heights and what's happening in here. But then, where you've got these ones that come down for over the stair, we are way above the stair at this point. You can see there's our door frame. So if you want to make these thicker, we can get you a couple feet in there probably, instead of about 12 inches or so that they are right now. Increase them to like a 2-foot distance or thickness, and then of course just this tail would stick out beyond. But anyway, that's kind of what's going on here. And then because of my deep overhangs, Cass, I do want to talk to you about how we can make sure this is plenty strong, even if I have to drop this double top plate. But I like it to backspan and pick this up, and then it's always this corner that tends to be the weak point. And so what I tend to do, I think I've got it drawn on this other side, or maybe it's in the front. Yeah, here, where I take and I'll have you make these trusses for me, where I've got my reduced gable, 2 deep. In this case, that gets me better than 100% backspan, I guess. It's better to have 2 to 1, but because of the layout, this is just the way this end worked out. The other end is different, and we could switch ends if we want. But nonetheless, it's a matter of, of course, these would not be cut this way. This is just a 3D how it's doing it, but this would be right um, square with that member that's sitting on the rake. So that would be that end. Now, Dimitri and I need to address this deck support. So I've got this beam that sits on the existing concrete wall. Then it comes out, and we're going to get rid of the concrete wall all the way across here except for underneath the floor. We'll leave that. But this has a big window in it. It's got a big door in it. And we're cutting the portion that was fairly solid out to put the stairs in. There's just nothing left. So let's cut the wall back and just leave this corner. And it's even showing it reduced back, but I think that's a property that this portion down here might be out too far. And so it's building this section out too far, but I'll look into that. But just consider that this is a flushed corner. And then we have the beam set back so that the footings aren't in the way. And then where we get into difficulty is I'm considering, like, if this came down to where we could relocate this footing and pour, my idea was to pour straight back into this new crawl wall. So all this room here is new, so this stem is new. And why it's got a joist in the middle of it, I can't tell you. But or actually I should Control Z, because I can actually, this is probably just it's drawn it too high. So I would really actually want this wall to be down here, and then we'll roll the trusses across it and set on top. That's what's going on. So this one here is the same scenario. So if I grab the wall, pull it down to the bottom of my wood member, and I think that's too far, but looks like a plate. Oh, we do have a plate there. Now the plate here is offset, and so this is, I think, a product of the insulation is pushing the wall out. So I'll figure that out. But yeah, that looks like a better configuration. And then I didn't want to change the material on these to be the pressure treated yet, because I think it's clear. It's easier to see when we've got a whole bunch of different materials going on. So if this came down, set on a footing that went straight back, we move this just back so this cantilever's out a little bit more. Or I'd like to get rid of this whole piece. It seems like when I do, and let's try it again, delete. When I get rid of that, and then I go to my full perspective overview, it seems to be getting rid of my decking. Ah, it didn't that time. Good. Okay. So, yeah, I'd like to get rid of all these guys, including their footings, and then pull this one all the way out to pick up this end, and then run a ledger, or we've actually got a rim there, so we just need to tie this in to our floor system for the building and have no gap. As shown here, there's a gap in here, so just be tying right into that system, and then it'd be pressure treated, of course, all on the outside in contact with the concrete. And then this guy would be sitting on a footing. But before I make those changes, I thought you might have a solution. You might want to come off this way and pick it up with a wood member instead of a footing. Just remember that this guy, it's not holding a great load, but it's holding this beam, which only has this wall weight on it. But if you look at the framing that's under here, it is holding this 2-foot overhang, and then of course back to the next the next truss. So that is being supported on this beam, and then this beam is carrying all these ends. So it's basically this trussed room would be sitting on here and transferring that load. The load that would be here transfers to here, back, and down. And this is what I would like you to take a look at engineering for me. Is that portion right there. So I will get this kind of laid out a little better in CAD, but most of it's done. So that's kind of what I need from you. And let's start right there, and including, you know, what these footing sizes will be, or at least give me the load so I can figure out. And I think that because we're gonna have a backhoe in here to stick in the that stem wall, then maybe Nick will want to do these square and just dig them. But until we know what the loads are, we could give him, you know, here's the square footage, and then I can give him round, unless you end up with anything extreme where we need, you know, 2 layers of number 5 or anything like that. But I don't foresee any huge loads like that, even though this is supporting that truss system. And just to come up here and make sure that you can see the truss system completely, and these trusses here, these ones that have this 1 foot or so of depth in them, that come up and then go across over to here, are sitting on a standard plate for a pre-cut stud with double top plate for this room here. So it all flushes out. So this room flushes, so the trusses are predetermined by that consistent run through, so that my roof's playing out nicely. So if you have any questions, please give me a call, and we'll go from there. So this is Mark Farrar with Not Square Design, and that's the end of this video.